opportunities. We're saying as a Nigerian, are you from maybe your own personal pitfalls, failing to achieve your dream, or is it just by being Nigerian and a lot of limitations that come to being Nigerian that actually limit you from achieving your dream? Yes, this is me, the 77%, and we're talking same dreams, different chances. So let's talk. And of course, I never do this alone. And with me in the studio are amazing people, amazing youths, amazing voices. I've got Pregnancy, I've got Christian, I've got Naomi, and I've got Simi. Hi guys, say hello to we this family.
Hello, good evening.
Okay, so the masculine voice, the baritone voice that you just heard now, that was the one of Christian. Yeah, he's the only guy who was on this panel today. How are you doing, Christian? How's your weekend? Yeah, it was exotic. It was splendid. Naomi, you're looking shiny, actually. You're looking glowing. That word is right. How was your weekend?
So exhausting actually.
Why?
Went up camp. To camp.
You went to what kind of camp? NYSC camp.
No, I can be a few.
Mission field.
Yes.
What part of it was exhausting?
Like,
Oh, that's actually exhausting. Come on. You're doing the Lord's work, right? Prophecy. Any prophecy for us this afternoon?
That would be 20
No. You always do that. She always does that. Every time you ask her to prophesy, she prophesies to you. What is going on?
Anyway, I'm good. My weekend was fine, and my week has been fantastic.
And I want to believe it's the same as me. Or any special story?
It's boring.
Why?
No. But I enjoyed it because I slept with it.
Ooh.
Yes, experience.
And of course, as always, we have the ever delectable, ever dazzling, ever daring, such a darling. Yesterday is also here with us. Good evening, good evening, good evening, good evening.
How
Yes.
was your weekend?
It was.
How did you spend it?
How did I spend my weekend? I went out to see a movie. I finally went to see the Spider-Man. It's probably the you know, but no. I feel like, oh no, you remember? Oh god, I'm gonna drag your boss into this. If you guys did so funny yesterday. Well, okay, well, let's get into the meat of today. We were talking about opportunities. Do you think opportunities are equal for every youth here in Nigeria? I mean, from content creation and tech to business, music.
Your voice is entering now. I can hear it very well now.
Senior, sorry, daddy.
I hate you. I hate you now. Can you go?
Yeah, sorry, I was saying, from content creation and tech to business, music, sports, migration opportunities, what do you think seems to be attracting the attention of Nigerian youth more than ever? What step do you think every Nigerian youth has their eyes, their heart, their mind set on from what I just mentioned? Maybe there's more.
I'll say content creation. As in points, as a guy, I'll say more sports. I tried out to go at sports.
Why?
We benching ourselves, comparing each player to the player which one is better. So as a guy, I'll say it's more on sports.
No, in terms of aspiration now, not just hobbies, things that you like to talk about or watch now. In terms of aspirations, the field that youth would really like to venture into, considering the realities of every young Nigerian in 2026, which one do you think is more eye-catching? I know you mentioned content creation, and I think you touched on that last week, how a lot of people, a lot of Nigerians have given into content creation and stuff, which is I can actually very much relate with that. But Prophecy, you think there are more?
I mean, young people are exploring tech, content creation, entertainment, business ideas, and even remote work, and even opportunities outside Nigeria. But for me, it's content creation. Yes. Everyone wants to create content. Everyone wants to, have that followers, have that views, get popular. For me, that's it.
Why do you think that is so? I mean, are there no other stairs that we should be, eyeing or looking out for, like tech, for instance? You know how people mention the tech group,
Of course, a lot of
like
people
even
say
tech girls
body,
now.
the
And
want
they seem
for
to be
content
taking the money.
creation is really very, very high on the high side.
I mean, and migration really is another example. I mean, for many of us young Nigerians, leaving the country is, not necessarily by rejecting Nigeria, yes, but looking for an environment where we believe that our skills and ambition can, really translate into.
Yeah, where our
better
effort can have a
opportunities.
better chance.
Mm.
of doing it.
And speaking of content creation, the numbers actually shows like opportunity is a major conversation because Nigeria's only workforce survey found that 15 to 24 years old, which is about 14.4% of our population, were NEET in 2024. Now, what that means is they were not in education, employment, or training in the first quarter of 2024. Now, you can already imagine why a lot of young Nigerians are getting into the TikTok, content creations and the like. But now, two young people may have the same dream, yes, but one has support, connections and resources, while the other has not. Timmy, how much do unequal realities affect, or how much do you think unequal realities affect the journey of Nigeria? I mean, I would say two young people can have the same dream, right? One is a Nepo baby, the other is a Lapo baby, in better language. When it comes to unequal opportunity, how bad do you think this is?
For me, it doesn't mean the person without support cannot succeed. But they may have to work harder, wait longer, and overcome more obstacles. And sometimes talent alone is not enough. Opportunity and access also matters. Access really, really matters, especially in Nigeria.
And now, do you agree with that?
Yes, I agree with that. Many young people want good education, financial freedom, but this can also come through. But this can also come through like in Nigeria now we have high cost of living, right? So it can be hard to but not in countries. So what can I help people say that succeed, really comfortable and make something part of their lives?
Anyways, we're also live on YouTube right now. Yes, you can join the live stream at Ray Power Nigeria. Yes, you can go on YouTube right now and look for Ray Power Nigeria. Just click on the live icon and you can see us visually. Or you can also join in on the conversation, and the number to call is 0912 423 0865. Yes, that is the number to call. 0912 423 0865 is the number to call to join in on the conversation. We're talking about the dreams of the average Nigerian. How do you think this is? And in terms of unequal opportunity, has this reality ever hit you? Do you have you ever been in a space where maybe you and one other person were fighting for a particular position, and because maybe the person had the connection and you didn't, even though you probably had more talent, but the other person was giving, and you were worried? How did that make you feel? Did that make you go back home to cry and with tears asking Lord, why me? Why did you put me in Nigeria and all of that? Or maybe that pushed you to actually go out more, network, seek more access, more opportunities, more connections, really, and all of that. We would like to hear from you. The number to call still is 0912 423 0865. That is the number to join in on the conversation. Young people from, say, different tribes, different religion, social classes and religions. We have a lot of people from different spheres, and yet many seem to share similar hopes. Yes, similar hopes for the future. Now, I'd like to know what truly connects young people across this background. Say we have the Yoruba, Igbo, and Hausa, but at some point they find somewhere, somewhere to truly connect. What do you think is that one thing that actually connects these people, despite their differences in your background?
In this question, I think that's where education comes in. Because in school, you cannot just see just only one tribe. Yeah, you see different tribes. Funny enough, because I have like 5 students or more from different tribes and are achieving the same ambition. Just like if you go, just like for example now, then JSS3, you want to go to SS1, you start thinking which department to go to, is it science, is it commercial, is it art? So you going to science, you surely meet other tribes out there.
That's actually quite, yeah, I really agree with you. But now me, well, I would say the desire for, dignity and possibility. I mean, a young person in Lagos, we want a job. Someone in Enugu, we want to build a business. Someone in Kano, may want quality education. Like Christian has mentioned, maybe someone in Cross River may want to access technology. Yes, the details differ, but underneath all of that is the same desire. That desire of, I want my life to be meaningful. I want my life to mean something. I want to be able to take care of myself and the people that I love. I want a future. I want to actually have something to look forward to. And I guess that's why the phrase different contexts, common aspiration is so powerful because, well, our circumstances may be different. Young Nigerians are not fundamentally asking for completely different things. We all just want opportunity, we all just want security, we all just want growth, we all just want respect, and we just want a chance basically to build a decent life. Anyways, we did go on to ask a few questions. We'll bring a question, but let's hear what you have to say.
I asked you to just speak to the guest and just tell him please stay on the line. Simple.
Important foundations for every young person's future because it gives us the knowledge, not just the knowledge, skills, and also the confidence to use this resource. Unfortunately, many young
You should join us already.
have this
Please, just This question.
Solutions to problems, secure different jobs, also create opportunities for others. So for me, making quality education more accessible could give
All of them
more
seem
people a effective to achieve their dreams and contribute positively to the development of our great Nigeria.
Anyways, that was the voices we got from the street as we asked the question as a young Nigerian, what is the one opportunity you wish was easier to access? Is it quality education? Is it jobs? Is it funding for business? Maybe mentorship, maybe technology, or a safe environment to grow and why? And I think majority of them actually mentioned education, which I quite agree with because that is like the bedrock of everything. If you're going to venture into other spheres like getting funding for business or mentorship or technology, of course you need some level of education first. That will give you the exposure, that will give you the skills, that will give you the purpose, the desire, and everything basically that you need. We have joining us now our guest on the program this evening, because by the name Osinachi Mamwama. Forgive me if I murdered that name, but he is the president, Center for Leadership Advocacy and Reform Mandate, yes, strategic leadership consultant, and also a public affairs analyst. Osinachi, welcome to Week 77%. Forgive me if I got the pronunciation of your name wrongly. Oh my, Newton. Welcome to the program. Alright, we're actually talking about youth and the opportunities that maybe are open to us as young people, living in Nigeria as we commemorate the International Youth Day that was last week, August 12, 2026. And it brings us to ask, International Youth Day is built, around the idea of different contexts, common aspirations. In practical terms, what does this theme mean for young people in Nigeria today? I mean, especially those growing up in different economic and social realities.
When we talk about the Youth Day or International Youth Day, we're talking about the aspect of one's life that you have a lot of strengths, you have, you need to work very hard to become someone that you want to be. So That's likely about almost productive years. That's when you say one is a youth. And unfortunately, based on uh, the next to the topic or whatever, it's not the reality.
Yes.
Every young person wants to be successful. Every young person has an aspiration, but unfortunately, the inequality gap, particularly in Nigeria, that gap is too far apart. In the sense that when you go to other developed countries, their young people have access to basic things like electricity. Because we are living in a generation that most things you are supposed to do as a young person, you depend on electricity. I'm just using that as an example. There are so many other things that we use. So when you don't have access to basic things like electricity, how are you going to do so many of the things you want to do? So those that have access to it, those that can pay for solar and those that can buy diesel or generators and all of that, so everyone that can afford all of that. So it's largely a problem that the government has created in the sense that they've not done what they're supposed to do at the basic level. Now, access to quality education should be general for everyone. Access to quality healthcare should be general for everyone. Access to social amenities like electricity, access to even capital for young people that have businesses and they want to get established and they need support. There should be programs for small and medium enterprises. We hear all these things. They claim they do it, but we don't see where they're doing it. I don't have a friend that says that government give me money, but these are the kind of things where if I see a young person down here who succeeds, you really need to work very hard. In this case, you have to travel out of the country. Maybe to go to places where you can have access to quality education and where you can have all of these things, that you don't have there in Nigeria. So that's basically the problem. So, majority are in that category where you don't have access to basic things you need to become, someone very important. And of course, unfortunately, that has meant productive years wasting,
Yeah.
If you can't have, because some people, many youths have vision, they have dreams. I want to be this, I want to be that, so but the chances of survival, the chances of becoming those things here is very slim. You understand? So when we are in that kind of situation, you don't see so many young people living perverted lifestyles, some people doing Yahoo, prostitution, and all kinds of, lifestyles that are not necessary, that are antisocial.
True. Very true. Exactly, which actually, brings me to, say and ask because, well, many young Nigerians are seemingly now interested in things like technology, content creation, entrepreneurship, basically opportunities beyond the traditional careers, as we know it, like the lawyer, teacher, banker, accountant, and so on and so forth. What does this shift, tell us about the dreams and priorities of this generation?
Globally, you understand? So we here we are not left out. We have industrial revolutions from time to time. So now it seems the digital economy is having more, is holding more ground than the traditional things you used to know about. Like young people grow up and say, I want to be a doctor. Now you can see that the content creator can earn much more than a doctor. So what we need to do is to encourage a lot of young people, because right now education is not only schooling, it's not only about schooling. Going to school is very important, but we can't do that out, we can't even, speak them and internet anyway. So, but what we need to understand is that education is beyond schooling. There is education outside the four walls of the classroom, and that is a broader, big, that one is bigger, very vast. Yes, you can say that, for some specialized, tasks or skills, you have to go to school to get certified, to get your licenses and all of that. But there are a whole lot of things, other things that you can make to do out there, and that is those things that a lot of more people who never had a good opportunity through education or through going through, a professional course or something like that. You see them thriving in content creation, you see them thriving in IT. Many people you don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. Very true. Yes.
As possibly bring them, get them, out there, because too many young people are still in the dark. That's the truth. There are many places you go to, you see young people, like even here in Abuja where I stay, when you drive down to a particular traffic lights, you see, all kinds of young people who come out to beg for money, they come out. So I think the government should take it more seriously, and also an NGOs as well should come in, because all those young people can be trained to do one thing or the other to visit themselves. So,
Sure. Yeah. Very true. And I know you keep mentioning the inequality gap, yes. Especially for people say they even share the same ambitions. We'd like to know how, such factors like poverty, location, maybe gender disability, family background, or maybe access to education, how, these factors shape the opportunities available to young people. If you could paint a picture in our minds.
I think the orientation that needs to be given now to go down to the family level, because the family is the smallest unit of every society, and when you have families that are aware about some of these things, at least they can begin to train their children, their own children from home, to let them know that, okay, you need to go to school, because we have a very high rate of out of school children to start with. And those ones are also young people. Then there are millions. They're not going to school, and because of family orientation, maybe their parents believe that they should carry plates and be walking up and down, we have a mental release, and we have young people who carry the things on their head to sell when they're supposed to be in school. So I think government has not done enough in terms of taking that orientation to the level of those families, at least those ones that their children are not going to school. And also, government should provide free education. I think, some of these things, we need to, they have to work together, because so many of those places where you see children are not going to school, when I check, do they really have good schools? Do they really have, quality education there? Can the schools be far from saying the number of children that are available or that should be in school? So we need to really do a lot of work. Now, we need to take the orientation to the families. Let them know that these children can learn skills, so that they will be the ones to encourage them to go and learn something. And I think, we need to start so many entrepreneurship hubs here and there. Some focusing on big shoemaking, clothmaking, things that they don't know to do. You understand? Because now I'm just looking at it like many families now in Nigeria, if they are aware about these things and this, I think it will help. But two big message there, and I think this is where NGOs come in, this is where the National Orientation Agency comes in. We need to go down and let them know that, come on, we need to help ourselves. Let's skills, both for, one thing or the other that can put you on your table. While we're waiting for government to do what they're supposed to do, at least we have to try one or two things to help ourselves.
Okay, so all right, thank you for that. So moving forward, often the first support system for young people. What specific thing can parents do to achieve it?
So are largely Christians and Muslims. Now, if we even involve our religious bodies, including our communities, in this discussion, there's a whole lot of work to do. That's the truth. Because I have been an advocate of churches trying to do, even if it's just their members out of poverty, that would be a conflict. You understand? Because we have churches that have a lot of money that they can build universities, they have that their pastors have private jets, which is not bad, but then imagine those funds, are used to create industries and a lot of other people, young people can work there. I think those universities, they're employing people, they're employing young people. So but if we focus more on that, you understand, if they should create job creation and wealth creation as a large part of what they do. I think the unemployment problem in Nigeria will be solved in a greater measure because we have so many that have the capacity, they can take a lot of jobs. The same thing with mosques. So the Islamic religious leaders will take it upon themselves. Hope it's sponsoring a lot of entrepreneurship hubs. Come up with programs that even just focus on your own people, your own religious people, get them off the streets, concentrate on those who are not employed, create some of these opportunities, absorb them, and get them off the streets, and so that they have something doing they can put food on their table. Is highly advised. And at the community level too, our traditional rulers, they should take this thing seriously, but of course, and people come from homes and all of that, but I think they should do more. I think they are doing well, some of them are doing well, but they should do much more. Concentrate on your community people. There are some communities, they have rich people. Traditional rulers should come up with ideas on how those that have in the community can, something can be set up so that they will make contributions, so that the other people that don't have, the poor people in those communities can be helped, can be pulled out of poverty. I think this poverty alleviation or liberation thing should be general. All of us should put hands together. As we're waiting, as we're also calling on the government, but we can't be crying for forever, waiting for government to pull everybody out of poverty. So what we need to do is the family come together, help yourselves. Parents should encourage their children that have to help the ones that don't have. These are some of the things we can do. You understand? Let there be a culture of help in our society, starting from the family to the community to the church, to the mosque, everywhere. Let's have a community of people who are interested to help others and pull others out of poverty. I think that will really help us a lot in this country. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Osinachi Mbama. You said a lot of needed things, that of course needed to be said. Thank you so much for joining us in the program this afternoon. We really appreciate it. All right, that was Osinachi Mbama. Yes, he is the president of Center for Leadership Advocacy and Youth and Mandate, and also a strategic leadership consultant and public affairs analyst. And yes, he has said a lot of things on equal opportunities, spelled that out very much well, and of course, preferring solutions, how the government, actually needs to be involved in all of this, and not just the government, even religious bodies, families, being a community that wants to see everybody grow, being a community of support, being a community of help, call it a culture of help. Yes, that's pretty much it. So, yes, we've been able to establish that there's a lot of unequal opportunities, here in Nigeria as it affects us as young people. But nevertheless, we can still do the very best that we can to make sure that these dreams that we have can be achieved. Well, that is the most that we can actually do on the program today. As we're out of time, but hey, you can also still join us next week, same time, same station, right here on Breakout 100.5 FM. I was had a splendid time. I hope you did too. My name is Ose, but you can call me today because this has been the 77%. And of course, it was a production of D1D Goha. Until next time, please, whatever your hands find to do, do it well. Say bye for now.